What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about how people with dismissive, avoidant attachment styles, um, how they ruin their lives without them even realizing it, without them even knowing, how they self-sabotage connections and opportunities from their life, and how I've actually known people who are dismissive avoidance and how they're pretty much fucking up their life without them even realizing it, and how I'm able to observe it from a third person perspective. So let's get to it. Also, it's going to be about how narcissistic people, how they also ruin their lives without them even knowing it. So let's get to it. So this video, I was inspired to make these videos because one, obviously I've observed it from people I was dealing with that screwed me over, and the things they told me prior to us breaking up or prior to betrayal, and just observing their life and even speaking to them and them telling me about what they've experienced. Also, there's this video, I forgot what it's called, but it was a while back. This video inspired me to make this video, and he talked about how narcissistic people or narcissists, how they lack foresight when it comes to their life. Meaning, and he did pretty much this video talks about how they keep, you know how narcissistic people operate. You know how narcissists operate, where they where they're constantly betraying people, ghosting people, using people, and lying to people, right? And but he's talking about that. He's also talking about how narcissists and narcissistic people, how they lie to people, and how all the lies eventually catches up to them, and all the bridges they've burned from other people, from screwing them over, how all that shit catches back up to them, and how narcissistic people, how they have a tough time sleeping at night, they have a tough time being at peace of mind, is because they've left so many people hanging, and they're aware that a lot of people hate them, that a lot of people are out to get them. So, and that makes sense, because if you're like a narcissistic person or like a narcissist, or even a dismissive avoidant, because dismissive avoidant categories and the narcissistic people, they both operate the same way, just different ways, but they're both very similar, and the damage they cause towards people is very similar. Also, dismissive avoidance is known, that attachment style is known to do the healing work a lot less compared to the anxious, preoccupied attachment style. So it makes sense, because they're called dismissive avoidance. So they avoid everything. They block people. They hate confrontation, and the nervous system can't deal with this. So they're pretty much cowards in a way. And they lack communication skills, and they lack basic emotional intelligence. So where was I getting at? So yeah, so pretty much it makes sense, because if you keep screwing people over, you're gonna burn a lot of bridges, and then a lot of people aren't gonna like you. They're not gonna give you opportunities. They're not gonna trust you, and they're not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. So and I don't go into more detail, but he pretty much talked about that in his video, and he's right. So, and he mentioned that because of that, they lack foresight. So they may get the upper hand at the moment, but in the long run, all this shit they're doing towards other people, it bites them out. It bites them in the ass, pretty much. And I know that to be facts, because whenever I dealt with people who are very narcissistic, I've cussed them out, I've threatened them, and all that was rightfully so, and also as out of self-defense as well. I gotten my revenge on a lot of narcissistic people a few times, actually, and have done a lot of damage to them. I'll name some examples. So I use my mother as an example. So my mother, she's the type of person where she'll lie on my name towards other family members. She laid hands on me. She'll verbally talk down on me. She also threw away over $1,000 worth of my personal belongings that I personally bought. She threw all that shit away after I told her not to do that, before I left to join the military. When I came back after the military to grab my belongings, I found out she threw all that shit away. So I told her about it respectfully, and she kept dodging accountability. She kept lying and gaslighting me. Eventually led to an argument, and now she called the police on me. I called the police on her, but she called the police first. So she was threatening me, and then she trying to turn family members against me, all because she avoids accountability and she avoids to self-reflect. that's a narcissistic person. So long story short, but it wasn't just that. It was multiple instances where she's done a lot of fucked up things to me that I'm not gonna mention. Eventually, it led up to me. Eventually, like years later, when I came to her house without her even being here. Long story short, but she was aware I was here. But pretty much I told her if I could come in. I let the police come in if you feel safe, so I could grab my belongings. So I could grab my belongings and take them, so I could put in my own place, my own house, my own living area, because she keeps throwing away my fucking shit, and I didn't trust her. So I drove from Kansas all the way to California, a 25-hour drive, just to grab my belongings back to my place, right? Um, and um, and she refused to let me in the house. She refused to let me sleep in the house. And she refused to open the doors. She had like a camera, so she knows like who's in her house, or she gets notified who knocks and not on that. And I didn't know she was in the house, all that, but she pretty much told me I'm not allowed in and stuff like that because I was a bad person. In reality, I was the one that always called the police on her. I was the one that was self-defending. I volunteered to get out of the house multiple times, by the way, and she gave me a restraining order. She did all that just to avoid accountability. So she uses like reverse psychology to pull some shit like that. She even, yeah, so even the police, I was talking to them at one point and they told me that they'd rather not talk to her because they know she's kind of delusional. She's a covert narcissist where like she'll do some crazy shit, abusive shit behind closed doors, but in front of other people, she's good at putting a fake face, pretty much, playing victim a lot. So that's why it's hard for people to believe she's actually a bad person. So, but I can see through that. But anyways, because I'm a generational curse breaker, but that's none of my business. But so yeah, so fast forward, I just sleep in the car outside. I volunteered to have the police come to her. She kept changing her mind. She kept saying, "Okay, you call the police. Okay, no, don't call the police. Okay, call the police. Okay, don't. Okay, fine. You can get in the house." So she finally let me in the house. Then she started taunting me. She started talking down on me and shit like that on the phone. And as I grab my stuff in my mind, I'm like, you know what? She's done a lot of bullshit that I'm fucking tired of. I've been a respectful person. If she's gonna continue to do some shit like that, you know what? I was fed up, and I decided to grab all of her belongings, threw it in the fucking trash, grab more of her belongings, put it in my car so I could drive all the way far, and I put all of them in the fucking desert in the middle of nowhere. I also grabbed all of her makeup and all of, the stuff she likes to use, like her makeup, her like products, like she uses on her ugly ass old ass face. You know how women use when it comes to their makeup and products. I grabbed all that shit and I threw that shit in the trash. I also kicked and broke and I broke her her room mirror pretty much. I cracked that shit. I kicked it hard, and now there's a lot of pieces of mirror glass all over her room. I also dumped all of my stuff that I don't need. I dumped all the shit she doesn't need, and I threw away all her paperwork, and I dumped all that shit on the fucking room floor. Like, I dumped all that shit. I made a huge ass mess on top of that with the broken glass all over the place. She also had a picture of me when I was a baby. I grabbed that and I crumbled it and I ripped it to pieces. So that's an example of how narcissistic people, and that's a minor example. I have plenty of life experience that I'm not going to go into detail because I don't know how long my video is going to last, because it might cut off at the last minute because my iPhone storage is acting up. But pretty much, that's an example of how like narcissistic people, they lack foresight. So she didn't realize that her taunting me, her abusing me, her trying to be smart with me, her trying to use strategy to have me come in and out the house, how it wasn't gonna backfire on her, and it did. So now she lost her makeup, she lost most of her clothes, she doesn't have a picture of me, broken glass all over, and she tried to clean all that shit up. So that's an example of like, yeah, you keep fucking with people, they're gonna expect for people to clap back at you. Some people die over this shit, but narcissistic people, man, they lack foresight because they're too traumatized and stupid. because they operate as a child, as in an adult body pretty much, because they're traumatized from at a young age. So even a child acts better than a fucking narcissist, like adult narcissist, but it's whatever. But yeah, but anyway, so my ex-girlfriend, right? So she's a dismissive avoidant. I don't think she's a narcissist, but dismissive avoidants, they can come across as narcissistic, and they are, in my opinion, they are narcissistic because I've dealt with them. I know how they operate, but because what's similar about dismissive avoidant attachment styles and the narcissists is that they both lack accountability. They don't like to self-reflect, and they dodge confrontation, and they ghost a lot. So she does that shit, right? Long story short, I'm not going into detail, but she blocked me, she ghosted me and all that, and I was trying to get a hold of her, and I just said fuck it, it's been months, so I finally let go. Months later, she actually called me out of the blue. She's saying she wanted to get back into my life. Me, I'm a very forgiving, loving person. I was nonchalant about it at the time, but when she ghosted me and betrayed me, I was pissed off. I was cussing her out and shit like that. I was threatening her and shit. I was like, fuck you, bitch. Because the shit she was doing, and it wasn't right. And so I finally let that go. She finally called back. She called my phone, and she wanted to get back into my life. I made a dumb decision saying fine, but she did tell me that how like the job she was working at, either she got fired or they never, because she was working at that job, but that job, they never called her back in to that job. So I think her job ghosted her. So in my mind, I'm like, damn, the same way she ghosts people, that job ghosted her. Also, she mentioned that her best friend, her best friend, they've known each other for a long time, and like her best friend will always like take her out so they could go out and have fun. Mind you, my ex-girlfriend, she doesn't have a car, she doesn't have a job. She lives with her adopted grandparents pretty much. So she's doing bad in life. The only thing she does is she goes to school, and even then she's fucking up on that. I think she was on academic probation, whatever. But she still goes to school though. But whatever. I think she takes a bus or something. But yeah. But her friend. Funny story that, because it's a long story short, so I don't get to details. It's a long story, but basically before when she ghosted me, betrayed me, I was trying to reach out to her best friend so she could get a hold of her so I could talk to her. But her best friend didn't like that or whatever. So long story short, her best friend blocked me, right? But then while my ex-girlfriend blocked me, she told me the time where like her best friend told her about how I was trying to contact her so I could get a hold of her, and pretty much they had a whole argument about it because my ex-girlfriend that blocked me, she wanted to get back into my life and that she misses me and all that, right? So they had an argument about that because her best friend don't like me or whatever, only because it was some dumb shit. I didn't do anything. I just reached out to her best friend respectfully saying, hey, can I get a hold of my ex-girlfriend? Because I just want to talk to her, and she just blocked me. So I guess she got freaked out by that, whatever. So then the ex-girlfriend that blocked me, she said how her friend, they both had an argument pretty much. And long story short, my ex-girlfriend that blocked me, that ghosted me, that came back to my life, she actually blocked and ghosted her best friend. So now they both burned bridges. So the time we were separated, she lost her job. Her job never reached back out to her, and her best friend don't like her to where my ex-girlfriend had to block her. So imagine all that. While me, on the other hand, while we were separated, I was able to have my new apartment. I had a new job that offered good hours. I had other opportunities that worked in my favor.